Jay, we're back. We're ready for another episode.
Yep, we are. It's been a while.
Episode 3.
Look, this is the third one. We're 3 into it. I think we got a good flow, so let's get it going. Man, it's been but before we jump into all the Salesforce and everything, it has been a crazy couple months just around the world. We've had a lot of stuff happening. The wars breaking out. We had the incident down in your neck of the woods too, Ted, with the guy and just a tragedy, killing all those people. And I mean, I'm at a loss for words. I'm trying to find the words to say, but I don't have it, because I can only imagine what those families are going through. You never expect something like that to happen. You're out in a public place having fun, and somebody just shows up with that type of mentality. So it's true.
It's true, and to have it happen in essentially like my hometown where I grew up, and I'm only just under a half an hour away from there today. So it was tragic. I think that's the best word for it, for sure.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Often condolences to those families that were impacted. I mean, I know it's not a whole lot anybody can say to kind of, change the outcome, but just know it's going to be all right. Okay. And with that said, now we can kind of jump into some Salesforce stuff. So it's been a lot of weeks. That's right. I'm using words. It's been a lot of. That's a Southern term. I'm gonna bring y'all up to speed on one day, but it's been a lot of weeks since we last connected, Ted. And that means it's been a lot of weeks for us to dive into some different Salesforce things.
Yeah.
And me myself, look, I have completed my OWD lesson.
Nice.
Worldwide defaults, roles, permission sets. It was quite the journey, to say the least. I'm blocking everybody out of everything. The only person that's going to be able to do something is me. So I'm just throwing that out there ahead of time. But I found it to be interesting. I really enjoyed it. And like I say, a lot of what I'm doing here with Salesforce, going through this admin cert, is very akin to, my job in my previous life, where I was kind of on the database side. So I see a bunch of similarities around it. So I'm feeling very comfortable about this whole admin thing.
I thought you would. Like because of that background, you're coming at it from an angle that other people aren't, which gives you a leg up, because I think for me, when I was new to it, and other people, it is kind of confusing. There's so many layers to it. But yeah, if you feel comfortable with that, like straight out of the gate, then I think that really gets you on definitely in the right direction for your admin, all the other topics that come up as well. So
yeah. So it's been pretty good. Now, I mean, with you having the experience though, like what are some tips or tricks that you kind of throw to a newbie that may not have come from that type of background, that's jumping fresh into it and they're getting ready to go into the OWD component of Salesforce? Like, what kind of tips, tricks, or guidance would you give someone?
Well, I would say always, it's Salesforce sort of phrase, like always be learning. Like, there's so much out there. There is the trailhead piece of it, but get your hands in an org and start setting that stuff up and see it come to life on your own. You can set up an org and you can make a baseline for permissions, and then you can go and change one thing and then log in as that person and check it out. And you can see exactly how things change as you test those org-wide defaults and those different decisions that you make. So I think definitely get your hands dirty and get in there. I think also look for as many ways that you can look at the topic as possible. So I really like this YouTube series that's called Who Sees What? Salesforce put out a long time ago. I think it's been updated quite a bit with some of the new changes and suggestions that they have for security. But those videos break the topic down into chunks, so you can listen to a 6 or 7 minute video on org-wide defaults and learn a lot. And then you'll go to the next one, which might be on permission sets and permission set groups and roles and profiles and all that good stuff. And it kind of breaks it into consumable chapters, so to speak. in a video format. And then of course there's Trailhead. So I think stitching that all together is what I would suggest, because I don't think most people are going to necessarily get it and latch onto it like straight away. So I would say all those different angles would be biggest tip.
Yeah, and I mean, we all learn differently too, right? I mean, some
That's
people
true.
they read it in a book and they just absorb it. Some folks like myself, I'm more of a visual learner. Don't get me wrong, I do the book thing, pretty awesome at it, but seeing it being done, and then getting an opportunity to go in and do it myself, it just sticks better. You know, it kind of sticks with me a bit longer. And I know we're talking Salesforce terms with OWD permission sets and all that other good stuff, but in layman's terms, pretty much what that does is it's just giving you the ability to set who can access and perform certain roles and activities within your org. That's pretty much the gist of it. So it's like if you're having a party, 3 people show up, you only want 2 of them in. You say, hey, you can come in, you can go to the bar, and then you close the door on the 3rd person. Like, nah, I don't want to here.
That's right.
You party in the parking lot, you know. So
yeah. And then on top of that, right? Like, use that analogy. You might let 2 of those people in. One can only stay in the kitchen. The other's allowed to the basement. You know, you can do that too. So
so look, and that's just kind of what it is in a nutshell. It's very cool. So if you haven't hit that part in your journey yet, look forward to it. It's going to be really exciting, and pay close attention, because as you can imagine, that's tied to security. Who can see what that can really bring down an org if you give the wrong person the improper permissions and they update something that just kind of tanks the system or destroys key data elements, you know. So just kind of be mindful of that. That's kind of our Salesforce thing. Saga update though. Time for a Saga update where we talk about where we are with regards to our certs. So Ted, where are you? I know you mentioned you were going to do the AI cert. There's not necessarily a cert yet for it, but you said that you was going to do the AI, I want to say associate or AI.
That's what. That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about it.
Okay, so Salesforce has these 2 new types of certifications. 1 new type of certification, and there's 2 of them. They're associate certifications, and they're more of a higher level conceptual cert. And so it doesn't go, they're not as hard as a standard cert, and they're more about giving an overview. So there is a one that is called the Salesforce Certified Associate. And so that is something I think that's on your radar, Jay. That gives you an overview of Salesforce and teaches you some of the great concepts about it, but it doesn't necessarily go into the admin path. It's a little bit higher level, still a lot of detail, but at a higher level compared to like learning admin. And then they have a second one that's all about artificial intelligence. So it's an AI associate cert. And so that's the one that I took, because part of my saga is I like to go to these dreaming events. And so obviously in our last episodes, we talked about how we met at Dreaming in Color. But since episode 2, I've actually been to 2 more. I've been to Northeast Dreaming and also Florida Dreaming. And I get around. And so in those sessions that I attended, there's so much being talked about with AI, and I just wanted to try to get in on what still might be the ground floor and just learn about the concepts. And so I've been studying for that AI associate exam. And so for those of you that don't know about the certification exams, there's a website. We'll put it in the show notes so you can see where all the certifications are listed, and we can talk in maybe a future episode of some of the deeper details about them. But for each certification, there's an exam guide that helps guide you to what to study, and then Salesforce backs up almost all of the certification exams with lots of good trailhead courses that you can take. So I put together my own personal trail mix of AI classes and chipped away at those, and didn't quite get to all of them, but I went through a bunch of them, and I took notes on a good old piece of paper. So as I was learning, I wasn't just reading and taking the quiz and trailhead, I was writing things down. And I think that for me, that physical act of writing helps
Yeah.
to get it into my brain to remember. And Jay, I'm happy to report that I took the exam yesterday and I passed.
Oh my goodness. Come on, Ted. Let's give some claps first off. Look, my guy threw that out there like one episode ago, and since that one episode, he's done all the trailheads, maxed it out, and then went in and passed the cert. Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome, brother. That is awesome.
Yeah.
You get to do a bio. You should have taken 6 certs at that pace. Like you be calling you
Thank you.
certified Ted.
Thank you. Now, to be fair, I have taken certs before, so they weren't new to me, and this is one that is admittedly easier than some of the other ones. But I still had to study. I still put in. I think I studied and read, let's say, at least a good 10, 12 hours of concentrated time. So not just being distracted in like 5 minutes here and stuff like that, but like sit down, concentrate for a good 45 minutes or an hour, learn as much as I could, and then step away from it and do it again and do it again and do it again. And I think all in all, probably a good 12 hours of trying to get that in my brain. So I'm really glad I did.
Yeah, that's good. That is good because it also, like, having those kind of lighter certs gives folks an opportunity to really understand what Salesforce is about, the different components of it, but also gives you an opportunity to see if it's something that you're interested in. And if it's something that you want to do. So you can go and take the cert, pass it, and say, hey, well, I may not be into that, but now you still have that under your belt. You still have that as something in your tool belt to pull out in the event that you need it, And with AI being as hot as it is right now, with Chat GPT and some of the other large language models, I mean, it's only going to continue to progress forward. So it is definitely a good skill to have.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mine is not as exciting, Ted. I did not sneak out and take the admin cert while we were on break. I did not, sir. I did not. I am still working through my dual studying habits, which is a combination of trailheads as well as a course on Udemy Business around the admin cert. So I am still working through that. As I mentioned, I've done the OWD piece. I've now moved into workflows. So that is pretty cool. Reminds me of triggers that we use on kind of the database side, where certain events trigger certain things. So if I update this here, you can do an insert or delete or something like that. So I'm still kind of working through the workflows piece of it. I'm excited about it, but so far, I think the biggest challenge for me has been just the terminology and continuing to link the terminology across the two. As I mentioned, on the DBA side, they may call it something else. Then Salesforce, they have their own unique terms for these things. So I think once I'm able to completely kind of one-to-one those, then I'm going to be solid. I'm going to be a force to be reckoned with. Like,
that's a good point. Yeah, I know you will. Yeah, for sure.
And look, I'm telling if the cert admins are watching this now, the people that monitor you while you take the certification. I know about that because my wife told me after she's passed her umpteenth certification, they watch you have to do all this. I'm slamming the monitor after I pass. So I want y'all to stay on the camera. I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna do like a scribe and boom, throw it on the ground. And I'm sending y'all invoice for a new monitor. That's my that's gonna be my treat for passing this thing, So look, but what are some things like to consider when you're thinking about your Salesforce journey? Like for me, I went out on a whim. It was more of a, hey, there's this certification. It's a bit difficult, and I'm sitting at a table hearing folks talk about it, and I'm always up for a challenge. So for me, it was like, I'm going to take it to take it. And it's kind of evolved into, me better understanding Salesforce CRM, learning to kind of like it, because like I said, kind of it's closely akin to some things I used to do that I really enjoy doing. So I'm really finding myself liking Salesforce. So for folks that aren't as impulsive to just kind of jump out and try to grab it by the neck, what are some things that you think folks should consider when thinking about a Salesforce journey?
That's a great question. I would say that learning about what the options are is probably like a great place to start if somebody's brand new to it and it's not going to be as bold as you. That's just going to pick one and, and jump right into it. If you want to kind of level set a little bit more and kind of read the room or whatever. So to do that, couple of suggestions. One is, if Salesforce is being used at your office, find somebody that works on that team and maybe begin to ask them some questions, buy them a coffee, try to get the lay of the land. And, some organizations allow you to do like some job shadows and informational interviews sort of thing to kind of get a feel for how your particular company uses Salesforce. Now, that's not going to be the end all be all, because it could be very different between organizations, but at least that'll give you a starting point. I think if you use Salesforce today, but not in an advanced role like an administrator or something like that, if there's something about Salesforce that interests you, like reports and dashboards or being able to navigate and understand it a little bit more, there are trailheads specifically on that. So you can find those and kind of enhance your current exposure to Salesforce, so to speak, so that you can kind of take things to a new level. So that would be a second thing. If you're able and you're that interested in going outside of your current work situation, find a Salesforce user group. They're free. They're in a lot of communities, and they usually have, let's say, like bi-weekly meetings, and a lot of them could be online as well. But essentially, you can connect in with people in your physical area that are either trying to learn about Salesforce, or they are an admin already, or maybe they're a consultant. It's just a whole bunch of people from different backgrounds that kind of get together and help each other out and help learn. The user group that I'm a part of in Maine is loaded with people that are brand new to it and are trying to learn, and then is also equally as loaded with people that have been around for a while that want to help people. So that's a good thing too. And then finally, my final suggestion would be really consider that admin associate, or not admin associate, but the Salesforce associate certification, because I took the AI one, but the Salesforce one sets that grounding in the Salesforce ecosystem, and it exposes you to a lot of things without having to go deep on things like security or deep on data model. And so that might be a good way to really get a feel for, hey, this is what the ecosystem is like looking like. This is Salesforce in a nutshell. What do I want to do next? So there'll be four suggestions.
Yeah, those are good suggestions. I'm going to pick on one though. You mentioned user groups, right?
Yeah.
And folks finding user groups. What are some ways or tools that they have? Like, how would I go about, say, finding a user group in Louisiana, outside of just going outside in my driveway and saying, hey, do we have a Salesforce user group in this neighborhood?
Right.
Like,
or looking for somebody with a Trailblazer hoodie, right?
Yeah. So what are some steps I can take to kind of identify what user groups may be available in my area?
I always start with Google. Like if you type in Salesforce user group near me, or something along those lines, you'll most likely find a hit. If you don't find a hit, you'll find a Salesforce page that talks about user groups, and so that can kind of get you started. All user groups also use this management platform that is used by the user group leader to post like the invitation for the next user group meeting. And if you do that Google search and find one of those, you can request access to any one of those locations. So and any user group that you want to. So like when I first started, there was nothing in my area, so I signed up for the New Hampshire and the Boston user groups, and I went to some of those meetings. And then a friend of I ended up starting a user group in our area, because you can do that too. And anybody can start a user group. But you can sign up for those. You can begin to go to. But when you sign up through those platforms, those invitation platforms, the next time that something gets scheduled, it's automatically going to email you. So with 3 weeks notice that the next meeting is going to be at a certain place at a certain time, and then you can register and go from there.
All right, so you guys heard that straight from Ted. User group guru just gave you the game on how to get signed up for a user group in your area. Do not set the user group emails to your spam folder and then wonder why you're not liked, because that's not the case. You're just missing. You're just missing the invitations because they're going over to your spam.
Yeah. And
So,
and we'll share, we can share too in like the notes and so forth, like specific links to these things. But I've had good luck with Googling and finding them as well.
okay. Well, look, Ted, we've covered a lot today. We've covered a lot today. You know, we got through a bunch of different topics.
It's been fun.
Yeah,
Let's
I know.
do it again.
It's been a while, you know. So it was like you had all this pent up podcast energy and like, I'm gonna get it done. And now we finally got an opportunity to hop on.
Yep.
So we're gonna shut it down. But I will say, if it was one piece of advice that you had for someone that says that's just slightly interested in Salesforce, like what would you give them? Like, what's the highlight of Salesforce for you?
The highlight of Salesforce for me is the people that you meet. I have met a lot of great friends, a lot of people that I can call friends that I would never have worked with or have been from different cities or, or things like that, that paths wouldn't have crossed, and you included. But I've been doing this for a while, so I've met a lot of people. And so I would say for me, for highlight for Salesforce is meeting people. And then I guess secondary highlight is I really like the having a job in the Salesforce world, and I've chosen to stay in my career working in the Salesforce world. And so I've really liked my job for the last 18 years. So I've had 3 or 4 or 5 different jobs over those 18 years, but I've always liked what I do because it's within this Salesforce world. So that's what Salesforce means to me: meeting people and having a job that I like.
Yeah, look, I'm not yet in the ecosystem, right? I'm that guy that's walking up to the party door, and I'm not sure if the host is going to let me in. So I'm kind of walking with bated breath. But I will say, attending the Dreaming in Color conference as a guest, that is one thing that I can say. All of the people that I met at the conference, they were nice. They were very knowledgeable of Salesforce, and they genuinely liked what they did. Like, their Salesforce role. Everyone you talk about or say, hey, are you in the ecosystem? Let me tell you about what we do and this, that, and the other. So in that type of energy and in that type of atmosphere, I mean, it speaks for itself that folks really enjoy working with the Salesforce CRM too. So, but
that's true. And I will say, like, I mean, to be real, like, you do get to a point, like in any job, that like your particular job may not be for you, but you now are exposed to what the other options are that are out there. So you know that what a path is to get to a job with like a slightly different focus, or something like that. Or you might like what you do, but you may not like the company that you're doing it at. So it's not like that everybody that has a job in Salesforce loves every minute of everything. Like, certainly that's not the case. But once you get in there, you can find, you can move within that world to find the things that inspire you or keep you going. So that is, I think, is a really true statement. So,
okay. Look, this is another episode of, what is it called? Jay and Ted's Salesforce Saga.
That's right.
If I mess the name up, y'all are never going to see this, by the way. So look, with that, Ted, how about we sign off?
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.